And we are back for the last grand finals of the weekend here at the Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup presented by McDonald's of North Texas. It's time for Overwatch, Fisher College, Maryville University. It all comes down to this. Maryville is such a fearsome team, as is Fisher. These two programs are dominant in their respective games. But first off, with Maryville and Fisher, these two teams have actually competed previously. Isn't that right, Miles?
Yeah, only a few weeks ago in another Overwatch Collegiate Championship, we did see Maryville kind of get the 3-0 over Fisher. And obviously, that's not always the case. We do see some fight sometimes, but Maryville has been looking dominant, especially today. However, they haven't always been on the same lineup.
Yeah. That seems to be the case. So there have been some adjustments to their support lineup, I believe, Miles. What is going on with that?
Yeah, well, Maryville, they've been cycling around between a lot of these different supports, and while that's not necessarily a weakness because all these supports are goated, it can be a little taxing at times.
Sure. Certainly seems to be the case. Now, I mean, we always have talked about how Fisher, Northwood as well, dominant programs, powerhouses in the esports scene. Let's give the folks who don't really know the Overwatch scene a little bit of background on why Maryville is such a prestigious player in both League of Legends and especially Overwatch.
Yeah, so I'm actually from St. Louis, so I'm from the same city as Maryville. In that scene specifically, they're regarded so incredibly well as a program, and I think the reason is because they haven't delved into as many titles, right? For a long time coming, they played just League of Legends because they played League of Legends incredibly well. They just won League to the point where they finally brought an Overwatch team, and those for a long time were their only two programs. Now they're looking to expand to Valorant. They've just started to sign Valorant players, and if you look at the names that they've signed, it is incredible, incredible players. They run their organization very similar to that of an amateur esports team, to where their goal is to take players to pro, to where other organizations, right, are looking to bring players in to get them into their degree similar to like an NAIA school or a like base level basketball program, to where Maryville is looking to make winners, and they have.
Maybe they'll have even greater winners today. Artie, we've talked about the macro. Let's talk about the micro, the players on the Maryville team. What are we expecting once we get into the server?
Okay, so one person I really want to, hopefully they're going to be on support. If not, I mean, it's not like they're going to underperform or anything, but Juby. Juby is someone you definitely want to keep an eye out for. Also, King. Definitely someone to look at. If we see King kind of swapping over to Genji, getting a little silly, it's a minor cause for concern. Additionally, please note, in the past, I've seen Clarky on the lineup. It's not Clarky. Just know that. But we can act like it's Clarky for sure. We can give those accolades over. But Juby, oh my gosh, a Lucio player I never ever want to encounter in my life. I play a lot of louder, and no, please, never ever let me run into you. And then over on the side of Fisher, we've got Neb, who's going to be a powerhouse leader for the squad, and then there's also their support lineup. I don't believe I've seen it really change at all in the past year since we've had kind of the transfer over from a previous school of this roster over towards Fisher. Having that camaraderie, having the actual solid platform can give you a benefit in these situations where you see the mix-ups of lineups that Miles actually brought up earlier. However, if your team's dynamic enough and feels confident enough that you're like, let's pull you out of the support role and let's let you go tank or let you go DPS, that is also a cause for concern because that team is overly confident and you should be scared.
Certainly. Well, with swapping around roles or lack thereof, what are some compositions that we could expect going into this series, starting off with Fisher?
Probably a variation of a Ramatra Brawl composition. I highly anticipate that coming out. I could see also Jotes, which is the Junker Queen Goats composition, since, you know, old Goats got eviscerated once 222 was put into Overwatch 1. I personally adore that. I definitely anticipate some variations of Dive coming out from Maryville with a Ramatra as the lead, so possibly a Dive or a Rush composition. I don't, however, anticipate seeing a Reinhardt mirror as much as some people want to see that. Reinhardt, no. Reinhardt gone. We don't see him. And if we see a Life Weaver, someone's getting silly.
We better not. I'm gonna get out in front of that. If You bring out Lifeweaver, I'm charging the stage. We're not using.
If I hear that, I'm bringing out Lifeweaver.
I know. We're teasing right now. It's almost like we're asking for it, and my head will hit the desk if I see it. Miles,
I mean, we saw it like very briefly the other day for like a surprise strat, like getting the Bastion up to a high ground where there should be no Bastion.
Yeah.
But that is like the only use I'm gonna see for the Lifeweaver. Like if you have a out of the blue something surprising that the team has never seen before, maybe you can slip it through, but you have to know when to switch off immediately.
Well, like, you got to think about it. Being creative, as we put it, the theory crafting, that is a huge part of Overwatch, and it happened a long time ago, but we got to give credit where credit's due. The Statue of Liberty play, coined by Northwood on their Overwatch squad on Kings Row, TPing a Bastion on top of Mendata's head. No one thought of doing something as weird as that. It was almost as scary as the Gladiators' surprise coming out with a Widowmaker on Kings to force the entire defensive squad to rotate out. So we could theoretically see stuff like that done, but you try it once. If it doesn't work, you need to swap, and there goes your ace in the whole creativity play, and it's back to square one. So I would love to see some Lifeweaver. Let's yeet an Orisa over a barricade type of situation, proc ult so she flings herself. But if it fails, that is not going to be a graceful failure.
Well, I cannot wait just to get into this matchup, but before we do, we gotta do our saucy predictions as well. I'm gonna go with Spicy Buffalo because I believe this is gonna leave a taste in my mouth that may hurt me a little bit, but I'm gonna enjoy it.
Well, this is awkward because I was gonna also go with Spicy Buffalo because I see this being a hot series.
All right, well, crap.
Well, I can go. I can give you a little more time because I think this is going to be Honey, and not for the reasons that people have been going with before. Because Fisher versus Northwood, or Maryville, sorry, Fisher versus Maryville. Maryville, storied roster who has a little bit of a lead, and it's often overpowering, just like Honey is. But Honey can also be used in a lot of creative ways, like Fisher might need to get creative to get a leg up over Maryville at times. So I'm going Honey just for that.
That's crafty.
Ooh, that is crafty. Speaking of crafty, we want to give a shout out to visitraleigh.com for supporting our entire 53-person crew with food and craft services as well. Thank you so much for making sure that this event runs so smoothly. Visit Raleigh.com. And now we're going to soon visit what?
Nerdy doesn't get a prediction?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's getting saucy. I'm sorry. You took so long.
Nerdy, what do you think? What's going to happen?
All right. I'm
I need to
changing
know.
up. Finally, I'm going to go with a different sauce. Y'all took everything that I was trying to make a pun with. We're going with sweet and sour. I haven't been able to use this one. This is one of the few sauces I can actually eat, and that's reminiscent of the fact that Overwatch is one of the few games I can actually say I'm decently good at out of all the games that have been here this weekend. And so this is going to be sweet and it's going to be sour. Someone's going to walk away and be like, dang it, man, I really screwed up, because in these games, I said it yesterday, it's a game of mistakes. And if you make a mistake and it costs your team the victory, it's going to end on a real sour note. But if you did that thing that's the creme de la creme, so to speak, play that gets you, possibly MVP or play of the game for the map, it's going to be heckin' sweet.
Heckin' sweet indeed, unlike the emotions that are currently felt among this desk toward me. But now we're going to take a look over to the stage for the player walkout.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for your grand finals in Overwatch, let's bring out your starting lineups. As your number 2 seed, please welcome Maryville University. Starting out, it's King, False, Tree, Ice, and Juby. And their opponents, the number 4 seed, Fisher College. Kame, Forgotten, Neb, Abs, and Faded. Now, welcome back to the stage for one last time to facilitate the pre-match showdown. Your host, Holly Hay!
Woo! Woo, woo, woo! Let's go! Everyone to the stage. It is the last resistance as we are here for the Overwatch 2 CECC 23 Grand Final. So please send your reps to the stage. Number 2 seed, Maryville. Number 4 seed, Fisher. Come on up here to the front. All right. Final match, Overwatch 2 Finals. Big rivalry here. Maryville, last words here against Fisher.
We've beat him once, we'll beat him again.
Woo! All right, Fisher, last words over here to Maryville.
Big talk coming from Momentum on DPS.
All right, Momentum on DPS, so let's go. It's the final handshake square off. Or settle down now. All right, into the fist bump, though, so let's go. Casters, over to you for the Overwatch 2 Finals. Let's make some noise. Let's go. It is time for some Overwatch 2 action. Casters, let's go.
One more championship to hand out, and that is for Overwatch 2. Fisher Maryville for the final championship of CECC 23 May Madness presented by McDonald's of North Texas. We say aloha, friends. Clutch Key alongside Divining with you here for what should be a very, very interesting and a very exciting CECC Finals for Overwatch 2, number 2 versus number 4. A lot of us expected Illinois State to be here, the number 1 seed, but they got ousted in the very first round of the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So Maryville versus Fisher, maybe lower down on the expectancy of this matchup.
Absolutely. I mean, you had UTD beating ISU, so that was such, and I have to go back to that because while it was only happened this morning, it was such a big event in the Overwatch bracket that we literally had to hijack the Smash portion of the desk for a second to let everyone know that it had happened.
Yes.
Everyone thought for sure we were going to be seeing an ISU versus Maryville finals because for those of you who are not involved in the Overwatch collegiate scene, there's kind of a big 3, and 2 of them are here or were here with us today, Maryville and Illinois State. And those 3 teams, along with Northwood, rarely lose to a team outside of that big 3. So the fact that UTD were able to win that is huge. The fact that Fisher were able to come in the semifinals and upend UTD is even bigger by the transitive property. Fisher over ISU, perhaps?
Maybe, but I mean, for the transitive property at the very least, you go back all the way to April, earlier on in April, actually, you go back to the Overwatch Collegiate Championship scene. Both of these guys, and you heard it on the desk before, both of these guys, or both of these teams, I should say, faced off against each other, where Maryville won 3-0 in the lower bracket, round number 2 in the top 16 bracket. However, that was before the April 21st patch. That was before all was said in Lifeweaver and some other changes as well to the patches. So things can change in the matter of less than a month.
Oh, things can absolutely change. Notably, Maryville coming on in the starting roster with Iced. Now, the desk did kind of touch on this before, the fact that Maryville has been messing around with their support lineup a little bit. They've been messing around, moving people because they have had trouble finding like the optimal strategy to put in that second support line. Iced has been playing a little bit throughout the bracket, and when I ran into Iced before they went on stage, I asked, hey, are you going to be playing in the grand finals? And he went, absolutely. I'm undefeated so far in this bracket, so we're going to keep it rolling. So I'm really excited to see if Maryville, maybe they finally sort of found that secret sauce, and that might be in the form of Iced.
Well, Casters were talking about sauce earlier, but this is about to be more than spicy. This is about to be, I don't know, explosive sauce, if you will, if McDonald's had that. But again, you're looking at a matchup right now, 2 versus 4 seed. Again, not a lot of people expected the 4 seed to kind of come out as the winner of the top half because UT Dallas made that incredible upset that we were talking about earlier on. But let's talk about this game now. Maryville, Fisher right now. You've got a lot of speculation here for the side of Maryville because I know some of us believe, I will tell you beforehand, some of us believe Tree wasn't going to be here, and yet we saw Tree up for the McDonald's jersey presentation. We saw Tree here ready to play. That makes a huge difference for this Maryville team.
Absolutely. Tree is often seen in the Overwatch scene as maybe the best DPS player overall that isn't currently in the Overwatch League. The fact that Maryville has a couple of years with this player to not only continue to develop him as a player, but also to get him several years of college secondary education is absolutely massive, just on a personal note for them. I also want to note that looking at what Ice just put in the chat, it's actually going to be Tree, who might be like the best mechanical player in the lobby, who's actually going to be playing that second support role. So we aren't going to be seeing that DPS Tree that has been tearing apart the Pro-Am a couple of months ago. Instead, you're going to be putting that player on support, having Iced, who does have Contender's experience on DPS running that role instead. This might be a very strong 5, and I'm actually surprised that I haven't seen Maryville run it before this tournament.
Yeah, Tree going on the support side right now is from what we can see right now. I know that earlier on, Maryville, by the way, getting here by the way of the last chance qualifier for the CECC. That one, both of us saw that King and Tree were the 2 DPSs earlier on. So Tree moving down is actually quite a surprise to me. But again, like you said, mechanically gifted. But now you go to the other side of Fisher as well. You cannot forget what Fisher has done. Won the CECC East. Again, Septolin saw that. I believe you saw that as well.
I was there.
You were there. You were there watching the entire thing. And so Fisher can absolutely still run away with this as well. And I cannot forget that one of the head players here for Fisher, Neb.
Yeah, of course. Hey, I want to try something real quick. If you're in the audience and you are a family member of Neb, I want you to scream as loud as you can right now. I know there's a few of you there. I know you have stuff. I hope that you're screaming right now. I can't hear you. But Neb actually has a huge support system in the family who come out and watch the games or in Twitch chat all the time. It's always a lot of fun to see them in chat and now to see them in person here. As we head into our first map of Lijiang Tower, the fly-through coming around, and I mentioned this in yesterday's cast, this is a really good map to start off a grand finals with because all 3 of these sub-maps offer different types of map geometry. You can play so many different types of compositions in those maps, and because of that, you get a really good sense of what these teams are going to sort of favor throughout the rest of the series.
Yeah, we'll see what teams move along here as we're going to get settled into Lijiang Tower in just a couple of moments going on right now. But for both of these teams, again, a huge opportunity here because neither of these teams won out in the Overwatch Collegiate Championship. If you remember with us, it was actually Northwood taking on Illinois State in the championship, so we didn't see either of these teams in here. Illinois State gone, Northwood not competing here in Arlington, so this is a very, very big match for both of these teams to kind of cap off the season on the right note.
And to be able to do it here at a LAN environment and have a massive trophy and honestly a really solid chunk of prize pool on the line as well. To be able to cap off your Overwatch collegiate season with that is absolutely massive. Regardless, this is going to be experience that both of these teams are going to take with them for a very long time, as we are going to be starting off on Lijiang Control Center. Of the 3 sub-maps on this control map, if you have not watched Overwatch before, this is the most closed in. You have a very limited ceiling, you have a lot of narrow corridors, and because of that, often teams will opt to run more close-range, brawly compositions, like you see Fisher College right now, running with the Reinhardt, running with the Mei, trying to section people off with the Mei walls. But watch the tank battle right now. Klurky, or False, has opted to run the Ramatra.
Ramatra versus Reinhardt, and the Mei wall's going to trap the Reinhardt in. The Mei wall sits them there for a little while, but they're able to break free, courtesy of all the damage being poured out by Fisher. So it's going to be Faded that walks away free for right now. They're going to rotate out of control room, or rather I should say server room. They're going to rotate off that right now, but mainly the high ground, I should say. They're in control, the Saints for right now. Down to about a second left to go until the point unlocks. Fisher has control of it for right now, but it is contested. Immortality field being used very early on by, I believe that's Hot Babe 36 right now, but very interesting name, but still. Point flip in command for the Falcons, but they still are pushing it right on in. The fight still continues on here. This is actually Clergy into Nemesis form, who takes down Cave and Faded rather down to about half health. Faded falling down really, really low. Application matrix very early on here for Fisher College on the Baptiste side, and that's going to push back the Saints of Maryville for right now.
Yeah, even though Maryville did a really great job of using the symmetric teleport to take high ground, you can see that Fisher College, thanks in large part to that shatter from Faded, did a fantastic job of saying, hey, if you're going to take the server room, no problem. We're just going to rotate onto the point, hold there, and force you to come to us. They actually took the point incredibly early in that fight, so that's why we see them already up at 40% going into fight number 2. However, when Maryville come back into this one, they have the Annihilation from Clerky already. It's a lot of great cleave damage. The Blizzard is also going to be great to freeze people up. How will Juby and Neb use their beats defensively?
Well, Ice is forgotten for a little while. Blizzards will trade exactly almost in the same place. And actually, a lot of people will freeze out Juby and Neb both using their sound barriers to trade. But Tree does not, or Tree actually gets faded out before Faded can get the benefit of the doubt from the sound barrier. 60% along the way here for Fisher, but Maryville looking good to clean this one up. They get rid of Neb, and Maryville is going to get some percentages on the board.
Yeah, they should be able to do it as soon as they deal with these couple of stragglers here, and that was a very expensive fight for Fisher, using 3 ultimates and not being able to get anything out of it. You're going back into this next fight with the Dragon Strike and probably the Amplification Matrix from Abs, but other than that, you're really working with nothing, and what I'm really looking at is the fact that Fisher really doesn't have a great defensive tool to be able to deal with the Annihilation from False. They did a fantastic job holding on the Annihilation in the last fight.
Rushing right onto the point goes the Falcons. They will try to play this away, but now the Annihilation is out, and the Reinhardt is just stuck there for right now. Immortality Field having to be used. Clerky's got to get out of the way. Dragon Strike down the middle. Dragon Strike will trade. Who's got the better of the Dragon Strikes? It actually zones out either of them, so the playing field even gets smaller. Ice able to use the Storm House to get rid of Forgotten. 3 kills fall, and the Saints will keep this up.
Yeah, really great job. Fisher had to try and sort of kite out of the way as a result of the Annihilation being used. So even though we didn't see any Annihilation kills going on in the kill feed, what happened was Fisher College were forced back. They didn't have as much room to work. And when that happens, Hanzo Ice is going to have a field day being able to just lob in arrows willy-nilly. Now going into this next fight, though, we have once again 2 pairs. We have both Blizzards coming up momentarily and also both Beats coming up. Who gets those first is going to be massive.
65% enrolling. If this fight lasts long, this very well could be potentially last fight. Or 2 quick fights at that, but the Blizzard's going to be dropped first out by King, and that freezes out Faded. Nothing doing for Fisher College's tank, and it's going to be Maryville that's going to hold this on because Fisher's got to back up already.
Yeah, without Faded in the fight, there's just no opportunity for Fisher to be able to sustain. But luckily, okay, getting rid of Ice is actually huge. Luckily for Fisher College, you're feeling pretty good about this one, not just because you're up 5v4, but because King did actually end up using the Blizzard in that last fight. Cave did not do the same. So we are looking at a situation where you have a Blizzard available to try and draw out the beat from Juby, and then you can go wild.
Blizzard and that Matrix are used on the side of Fisher to keep this one going. Soundbarrier is going to be used. Neb uses theirs first. Juby, or actually Juby uses first. Neb uses theirs right afterwards. Now the Annihilation up for Clerky. Here comes the Dragon Strike down the middle of the lane. The Immortality Field having to use very early on. 1 support down on either side. Fisher College able to flip it right back to them for right now, but the Falcons need to hold on to this before Maryville can even get to them. Already 2 kills outside. And the point still looking to be flipped back to the Saints. Faded falling down to about half health. Forgotten switching it over from the Hanzo to the Tracer, but you're going to need to be quick, my friend, because right now Maryville started to run it over. Overtime clock does happen as Maryville flips the point back at 97%. Is anybody going to be able to touch? Somebody is going to be able to, and I believe that's the Baptiste right now. Tracer has to get on in, but isn't going to make it at all. And a very, very close first map looking to go in the favor of the Saints. And Maryville, 100-97, takes the control center.
But really back and forth from both sides, and that's what you want to see when it comes to those brawl compositions, those back and forth teams trading heavyweight blows as these incredibly impactful ultimates like the Blizzard, like the Annihilation get traded from both sides. It all comes down to who can manage those tools better and who can position themselves better to both get more value out of their tools and then try and make it more difficult for them to do the same. Now we head on to Garden, which is one of... We went from an extremely closed-in map to a much more open map, which is why we see Maryville starting to run what looks like, as Nerdybird said on the desk, the Jotes composition. False on the Jungle Queen is going to look to go as aggressive as possible. You can get tons of cleave damage off with this composition, but you don't have any shields, you don't have a ton of healing sustained that the tank can give you, which is tough.
For 1 second, Forgotten gets rid of Tree on the Kiriko, so Less healing coming up for the Saints, who have to back right on off, and just because of the aim of one arrow, Maryville backs them off for right now, and I mean, what a huge play there from Forgotten.
And that's why we immediately see Ice move over onto the Hanzo, because that one-shot potential from Hanzo's arrows is so massive. That's why we see him being played so incredibly often. Not only can you turn a fight with just one shot, but you have pretty solid mobility with the wall climb and the dash, and you're looking really solid now with the point in your control.
Point in control, and Cave's going to try to keep it that way. Gets rid of King onto the Tracer, and now again, a 5v4 situation where Maryville doesn't want to give up anymore. They get bio-needed out, and right away, as soon as you lose the Tracer, you back off. Don't want to give any more ultimate percentage than you want to.
Yeah, it's again, just these really quick kills from Fisher College have been incredible. Maryville just hasn't really been able to take a fight because they've been getting poked away on the way in. You see them go to the right, now moving over to the left, trying to fake out the Falcons, but they seem to be ready for the rotation.
Falcons are going to try to rotate right in alongside Maryville, so they basically switch places from east-west to north-south. They're going to try to go in right on in. Immortality Field used very early on from the Baptiste. But that's going to allow King to go down. Iced and Clerky, though, trying to turn this fight on their own. It's a nano boost on to Clerky for a little while now. Doesn't even need the Annihilation to help themselves out. 4 kills. And the Saints are going to get percentages on the board.
Yeah, they should be able to get the flip. Once again, this is a little bit of deja vu here. It's a little bit less than last time, but Fisher got first point control, but they got about 70% on the point, and once Maryville took over, it felt like they had the momentum for the rest of the map. We'll see if the same rings true this time around, as Maryville does have the Annihilation up. Fisher College coming up, already has the Dragon Strike coming up on Blizzard, Shatter, and also the Ant Matrix. So they have, theoretically, the tools to take this back very fast.
Ice is pretty happy that another Icicle didn't hit you there. 50 health and stayed alive. Thank you, Sports. As shots being fired away, Storm Arrows inside. They're going to try to fight from inside of the White Room and out. But a great bio-nade. That hits 3 people onto Cave, Faden, and Nem. They have to back off early Immortality Field yet again for the Baptiste. Fisher College maybe having a little bit of trouble trying to get themselves out. Ice gets the Dragon Strike kill. They fall off the map, and this is going to be Maryville holding on.
I think Forgotten got killed in the middle of casting his own Dragon Strike. I saw it be used, but no dragons ended up going out. So now as Maryville's going to tie up the percentage, Fisher College, again, in a situation where they have the tools, the question is, can they get into a position to use them effectively before Maryville just descends on them? Not only do they have the Annihilation, but King is getting very close to that blade. I think you're probably waiting for Tree to get that last little bit to the nano boost before you let go of it, but it's still a great tool to try and discombobulate the Falcons on their approach.
Falcons trying to move right on and trying to recapture the point at 58%, 75% for Maryville right now. See any ultimates being used. Cave is going to use the Blizzard out in the middle. Was that going to freeze anybody in? May as well have been. Clarky King's going to try to turn this all the way around. But for right now, a 2-to-1 trade fight in favor. Another good bio-nade. 2-to-1 trade fight now in favor of Fisher College. They're going to go ahead and use the blade here, basically with nothing on it, to see if they can find anything, and they won't, and Maryville's going to back off.
So, yeah, that is kind of tough to use the Dry Blade in that situation, but I will say a combination that is almost as deadly as the Nano Blade is the Nano Ramatra, and that's exactly what Maryville is looking at right now. You're going to be able to get cleave damage on basically anyone that's within 20 feet of you. As soon as that comes in, that's exactly what False is doing.
The Annihilation's going to try to come in. Forgotten's already found a headshot onto Tree for right now. And there's going to go Faded right on in, trying to charge out, but the Annihilation still way too strong. Flip goes back to the Saints, and Annihilation gets rid of Forgotten, and it is still going on. Clerky finally runs out of it, 97%. Somebody's got to feed away and touch. Net doesn't touch, and oh, just in time, the Reinhardt's able to touch. 99 to 86%, King dashes away. Clerky, though, cleaning up house on the Nemesis form, and all you have to worry about is the Reinhardt. 99 to 86, it's going to 100, and the Saints start off with the first point here on Lijiang Tower.
Well done from Maryville. We saw 2 very brawl-heavy submaps right there, and that was 2 solid wins from the side of the Saints. I will say, Fisher stood with them in lockstep, trading back and forth, but in both situations, Maryville had a really great job, not only of knowing what their win condition was going to be for the current fight, they also had a good idea of what it was going to be for the fight after. Even though, like I said, you questioned the blade being used at the end of that fight with nothing else on it, I think Maryville, knew from the very beginning that it was going to be the nano-boosted Ramonter that was going to give them that final victory.
Well, it was only 1 or 2 targets anyways. It was
Yeah.
either going to be the Genji or it was either going to be the Nanoblade or it was going to be the Annihilation.
Sure.
Either way.
Annihilation. I've never heard that before, but I really like that.
It's a pun.
I'm gonna try and say that. I might mess it up though.
Just not annihilation, a nanolation. See?
Yeah.
Pair it up a
Absolutely.
little bit. You know, gotta mix it up.
Yeah, you always have got to mix it up. As we move on to, speaking of that, moving on to Circuit Royale, next up as the escort map, we are now moving from a lot of brawl to probably what is going to be almost no brawl at all. We're looking at long range, big sight lines, big high grounds, a lot of Widowmakers, we saw a lot of Hanzos, but we're probably going to see Widowmakers. We might be seeing some Sojourns as well, a lot of Sigma coming in on the tank as well. So it's going to be a very different style of play. Things are going to slow down a little bit as teams play for positioning and try and get long range picks.
Now 7 players on side of this Fisher roster right now, and actually one of them is going to come in off the bench. So there is going to be a sub. We don't know who as of right now. All we know is that there will be a sub for Fisher. So we'll find out who that is. Actually, we'll see it on we'll see it on the roster here in just a couple moments.
If I had to guess, I have a pretty good inkling of what it's going to be. It's going to be Avani coming in for Faded on the tank.
Okay.
Faded is kind of their main tank. Like if you think in Overwatch 1 terms, the Winston, the Reinhardt, that's when you have Faded. But when it comes to the traditional off-tank roles, Diva, Sigma, Zarya, that's when Avani is expected to shine. And so in a map where you're probably going to be playing mostly Sigma, you're probably going to be swapping out Faded for Avani. Also want to mention that you have a really solid double sniper comp at Fisher with Forgotten's Widowmaker and Cabe's Hanzo, which could be a lot for Iced and King to keep up with, even with the cumulative Tier 2 experience among those two players.
Now, it's not to say here as well that there may be deja vu or whatnot, but again, Fisher College, Maryville facing off against each other in the lower bracket round 2 back in the Overwatch Collegiate Championship. Second map didn't even go to, so there it is, the Avani switch in as we've been being told in the background, but we'll talk about that in a couple of moments. You go back to an escort map that they did play Rialto, so this is a little bit of a change of pace here in terms of an escort map, especially for Fisher's side, who instead decides to go Circuit Royale, goes a little bit more long range, and like you were saying, Avani comes in, Faded goes out. So again, Sigma v Sigma map looking to be coming up here for Circuit Royale, as it basically has been since its existence.
And I will say, False in Overwatch 1 was also traditionally an off-tank player. So you're actually in a situation where while Fisher has to swap out their tanks in order to feel comfortable with the composition they're about to run, Maryville has absolutely no changes they have to make. They feel very comfortable with their 5 no matter what map they're taking, no matter what composition they have to be playing. And you have to think that having that stability in their comp room, knowing that there's going to be no new voices and you get to just kind of play with the same 5 guys and keep that synergy going throughout the entire series, it could be big for their momentum.
Could very well be big for their momentum, but then again, for Fisher right now, you really want to stop that momentum for Maryville at the very least, because right now, Fisher's got to find a way to take this from a best of 5 to a best of 3.
Yeah.
Because they are already down 1-0. This is your map pick, and so again, you've had less than a month to try to figure out something to stop Maryville. You got swept by them earlier on. This is the time to bring it. This is the time to get that trophy. This is the time to pull out all the stops. And again, subs and all, you've got 7 people to use on your roster. You've got the depth chart to do so. So switching out may be kind of a strategy. Maryville not switching out at all, but why would you? Don't fix what's not broken, obviously, right? So Maryville's going to keep the same way, but for Fisher right now, just got to find a way to earn that trophy you see down the middle on the stage. So for Fisher, I mean, what's going to be their keys going into this, especially on a map like Circuit Royale where you got a mountain to climb?
Yeah, their key, like literally a mountain. Their keys are going to be hinged on the DPS most likely because, again, Circuit Royale is a long-range map. It's all about playing 4 picks on the Widowmaker, the Hanzo, the Ashe, the Sojourn, any long-range DPS that you want. So it's mostly going to come down to Forgotten and Cave to be able to keep up with the Ice King DPS line. Now, Maryville did theoretically slightly. I want to say to be clear, these are 2 very, very good DPS players, but moving Tree off of DPS onto support is a slight downgrade just because of how cracked Tree is at that role. So Can this DPS line keep up with Forgotten and Cave in a situation where both of the DPS are very, very key? You have to be working in lockstep, and you have to be constantly winning 1v1s with your opposing numbers. And a lot of that is also going to come down to the tank matchup between Clerky, aka False, and Avani, because a lot of the jockeying for position between these long-range DPS is going to come from the Sigma shields coming out, being able to give you free line of sight.
So Subs is in right now, checking to make sure teams are ready to play. Fisher, Maryville going for game number 2. Again, next map coming up, Circuit Royale. Like we've been talking about pretty much all the way through. You have the long-range sights. You have the shields of Sigma. This is a pretty Sigma-heavy map. I don't think you're going to see much of anything else. Maybe except for the third point, I would say. Maybe you change a little bit. I've seen Ramachers get pulled out. I've seen Reinhardt somehow get pulled out as well, and that works at the same time too. And again, we were talking about this yesterday where like there's really not a kind of set of meta, if you will, but I feel like Circuit Royale is one of those maps that actually have a set meta, if you will.
I mean, with the long-range sight lines that you have on the defense, you kind of have to play it. You're forced into it, and I gotta say, I do like it in principle, just from the Overwatch team, the fact that they have these maps that use different types of geometry to encourage different types of play. And that's what we're going to see. So this is an ideal grand finals because we have gone from Lijiang Tower, which was largely a close-range map, to Circuit Royale, which is going to be a largely long-range map. So watch out for Ice versus Forgotten, King versus Cabe, dueling on those DPS as much as possible. Also want to keep an eye out, of course, for Tree. We're keeping an eye on that support player who was swapped over from the DPS in order to try and help out. In these kinds of situations, if you're playing like a Zenyatta or maybe even a Baptiste, that sniper support kind of action could come in play.
Could very well come into play, but we go to the streets of Monaco. We go to Circuit Royale now. Is pretty lights in the nighttime, but playing a little bit in the daytime. As I could actually say Miami Grand Prix for Formula 1 going on right now, but we're in a different country altogether, especially going to Europe. But
it would be a really great backdrop for a race for sure.
Really great backdrop right now. Yeah, I mean, but still. The streets of Monaco, we're in Circuit Royale right now, so we got about 10 seconds left. And talk about the compositions right now, because, I mean, either way, we've seen Zenyatta's, and this is pretty much going to match. But if Maryville is going to pull this out, I'm very interested.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to, I know that King really loves playing this Genji. It's kind of a pocket pick here for the Maryville DPS player, and Ice immediately gets the diff onto Forgotten on the Widowmaker. That is so important, being able to immediately take out the opposing number and own that Widow 1v1 early on.
Huge pick early on, but that still means Fisher College gets their Widowmaker back faster than not, so back to the spawn room they go, but they'll rejoin their team right away as they push on up. And what you notice as well is the Sigma's the only one on the floor level here, and Forgotten's actually going to get the revenge shot onto Ice, which is big for them to advance his payload forward. No more Widowmaker you got to worry about, but now you got to worry about King on this Genji, who's just going to dash right away into the Widowmaker. And Avani almost down to about 250 health. There goes the Orb of Discord on either side, on either of the tanks. But you can see how much pressure Fisher is putting on right now.
Yeah, because King has to try and get in close in order to be able to get consistent value on this Genji, and Forgotten and Cabe know immediately that they have to try and chunk down that Genji as quickly as possible before you're able to do just that. And so far doing a great job of doing that, and Forgotten continuing to find headshots, this time on the Juby.
Yep, they find it on the Juby, so no more Orb of Discord that you're going to have for Maryville's side, so advantage going to the Falcons of Fisher, and right away 3 kills fall. You're going to add 2.5 to the bank with 5 minutes and 14 seconds left to go to push this up the hill, but they might even have more space than that.
Almost no resistance at all from Maryville on the first point, and now you see, of course, Fisher College are going to push all the way up the hill and try and get as much as possible. Yeah, big little hello from Avani onto Ice as you take down the Widowmaker player and basically pull off a spawn camp right now, but a nicely placed Immortality Field from Tree is going to save Juby.
Holy cow, Juby was in so much trouble, but Tree just says, "Here I come to save the day." Just already, just
is that copyrighted?
No, I'm sorry about that.
I don't know.
I kind of had to sing it, but you know, it's the hero play, if you will. But Tree just comes right in, saves the day with the Immortality Field. Transcendence having to be used at the same time. Dragon Strike's going to come up the hill from Cape to see if they've got any more space. Now the Gordic Flux is up, this time coming from Avani. And is it going to find it? And it probably doesn't, because Ice has already found a headshot onto Hotby, one of the 2 supports there. Both of the supports are down. Fisher College stops in
King's
their
so
tracks.
low. Oh, you lost King, though, which means you no longer have a full 5, and King actually had the Dragon Blade ready. So as Fisher is going to back up here, they're forced to play from the low ground, so that's going to make things even more difficult for Forgotten and Cave to be able to find solid shots onto their opposing numbers on the other side, and they have 0 ultimates. They used everything in that last fight. They now have to build up once again from the low ground where they're constantly getting poked at, and this is going to continue happening.
Well, Ice has already got to find a body shot onto Forgotten. Another Immortality field used very early on, but 2 bigs already gone. And right now, look at the damage the supports are pulling out. Tree and Juby, my oh my, headshots galore for the supports, and the Saints putting up the wall again.
Yeah. And again, I have to look at what the ults are looking like for Fisher College. Not only are they dying, they're dying fast.
Yep.
And because of that, they really have barely built up to any of those ults. They're still working with nothing, while Maryville has a Transcendence in the pocket of Juby. If anything gets even a little bit weird, you do have Cave swap onto his own Genji to be able to counter King, so now there'll be a little bit of Genji duels going on as well as the Widows.
Fisher Gauntlet's going for what I like to call the cinnamon swirl, going underneath, going around, trying to get behind them, but nothing doing because they're just trapped inside of there, and the amount of damage that's being spent is just going to be too much. Fisher backs off for right now, but Ice, again, icing Forgotten with another headshot pick, and now they're just stuck inside of this corridor. Nothing left to do but wait either for that Orb of Discord to proc or something here, but Avani falling really low now. It doesn't really matter. Avani's gone, and that's going to be your fight won by the Saints yet again, and that time back down to 2.5.
Yeah, it started at almost over 5 minutes. It's now been chunked down to less than half of what they started with, and Fisher College has really, accomplished almost nothing in that time. 40 meters in 2.5 minutes is basically 0, but that is what you wanted to see. Forgotten finally getting the revenge shot onto Ice. Getting that pick from the elevation, from the low ground, is extremely difficult. Forgotten makes it happen and opens things up for the Falcons for a potential 5v4.
2 minutes left to go on the clock. They still got to make it up one more portion of the hill here. Now they're going to go ahead and use the Amplification Matrix to give themselves a little bit of room, but that Amp Matrix is actually by the side stairs. So for right now, Fisher can advance on with really no worries whatsoever because Maryville backs off. But now King dashing right in and 4 ultimates for Maryville. A lot of check marks for the Saints, but Fisher College fighting off.
Yeah, Avani's just getting melted down so quickly. The focus fire from Maryville has been huge, and the fact that they only had to use the tactical visor, not the tactical visor, the infra sight to win that one means that they still have 4 ultimates available, and not only are they 4 ultimates, they are 4 hugely impactful ultimates. The Dragon Blade, the Amplification Matrix, the Transcendence, which Ubi has hung on to that Transcendence for something like 3 minutes because you haven't even had to use it, and also the Gravitic Flux. Finally, Fisher's coming up on ultimates of their own, but will it be too little too late? Because in order to hit checkpoint B, I think you have to win 2 fights in a row. It's got to start now, though, in order to try and keep a somewhat healthy time bank going into the last phase of the map.
Yeah, you can see where that payload is right now, still at the bottom of halfway of that hill. Meanwhile, Tree is gone. The Gravitic Flux is going to lift up Avani, and Avani just cannot find kills whatsoever. He's dying way before a fight can even happen here. Fight continues on, though. Clerky able to get rid of Caben. It's a quick fight, but 35 seconds left to go. Challenge for Fisher coming up.
It's a big challenge, but the silver lining here is that fight ended so quickly that you're going to get one more shot here if you're Fisher College, and you have 4 ultimates to try and get any sort of progress that you can on this point.
They use the infra sight very early on to find out and check out where they're going. Nev does have the rally and the very changed rally, but King getting rid of Forgotten on the reflection. The deflect is good. Kane's going to use the Dragon Blade in the back line, though, and Kane is going to find at least Tree for right now. Critic Flux up as well. They are using everything on the board for Fisher College, but right now, as it stands, a 2-on-3 situation doesn't look like it's going to end, but Neb is just going to whip shot a win here, but the overtime clock is still up.
Yeah, and the fact that False is still alive here, that big health pool blocking the pathway for Fisher College, saying you shall not pass, you shall not get a time extension, as they still need to hit something around 40 meters in order to do so. You need one more fight win, and you put everything into that last fight. Can you win another neutral? Now you are on top of the high ground, though, so you don't have to deal with the elevation change.
Here we go. No ultimates on the board for either side. This is going to be pretty much a dry fight until somebody's going to get an ultimate. Cave in so much trouble. Immortality field, though, saves Cave for right now. What it doesn't save is Forgotten in your backline as King changes on over to the Tracer instead to make sure Forgotten is forgotten in this fight. No more time. It is overtime, so you got to stay on the card the entire way. But Juby getting rid of Cave is huge. No more damages for the side of Fisher College. It all comes down to the supports in the tank. But Juby is bloodthirsty, and the supports are as well. That will end it. Maryville says, no, no, no. Even with 5 minutes and 14 seconds on the clock, Fisher is stopped.
And that is why Circuit Royale is considered to be such a defensively favored map. Even though Fisher got through point A so quickly, Maryville did a fantastic job of leveraging the just crazy high ground that you get at the end of point B for 5 minutes straight, and they stuffed Fisher College. They were able to consistently win those DPS duels when they had the high ground, which, as we know, is a massive advantage if Star Wars has anything to say about it. And we saw it right there. There was nothing that Fisher could do. They end up going almost to the end of point B. So I want to say, again, this looks kind of rough for Fisher College, but again, this is a very defensively favored map. You have all of point A and all of point B to work with, including that big high ground that Maryville used and abused so much in their defense. So Fisher College are not out of this one just yet.
They're not out of it just yet, but they have pretty much to put up one of the biggest walls I'm ever going to see here, especially against a team like Maryville, who, like you said, storied history, one of the top 3 teams. Right now, Maryville looking pretty good to put this in a 2-0. Question is, can Fisher hold the line? We're going to see basically what was the same thing for Gotten and Cave on the Hanzo and the Widowmaker, but King, again, this Genji's been working out pretty well.
It's been working out pretty well, especially making sure that Forgotten hasn't just been able to get big shots for free, right? You don't even have to kill the Widowmaker as long as you're able to get up into her face and able to make it as difficult as possible to do anything. I'm noticing a Life Weaver from Tree. Where are you putting this pedal platform? Who are you lifting up to try and get a high ground position?
Oh, well, okay. Well, there's no more anymore.
Whatever it was, we missed it, and it didn't work because we didn't see anything in the kill feed. It's likely that you were trying to lift up Ice to get some weird high ground, but didn't end up working. Instead, it's Cave who kicks off King to start off.
Yeah, Cave gets the headshot onto King. I was about to say, somewhere out there, Nerdy Bird is shouting, get off the Life Weaver. Right now, I feel like Nerdy Bird's shouting that out there somewhere. 3 minutes and 19 seconds, though. Fight continuing on. Even if you lose one of your members here, at least for the Maryville side, you get them right back, considering where the spawn room is. Very close and personal. They will fight, though, because Fisher knows that they cannot give up as much distance as you think, because their playing field got a lot shorter, especially giving up that, only getting 1 point in 86 meters, but they continue the advance on. Right around the corner, they will play. It'll be Shields up right against Shields for the Sigmas as they go right underneath the archway bridge. This Genji right now putting on a lot of pressure from the front line, really not doing anything in the back line. Spots out the Widowmaker. Now the Widowmaker in a lot of trouble, but knows that you've got the Orb of Discord on the Hanzo as well, and this Hanzo has to run away. And that Orb of Discord just making free space right now.
Yeah, look at how much space, how far back Fisher College have been forced. Oh, no! Did King just deflect a Widow shot into Cave?
Oh, my God.
Simple geometry. That is all you need. And Cave is forced onto the Tracer.
I am speechless.
What a show of dominance.
That's just that. Oh my God, King is just flexing on him now. The deflection shot into a different DPS. K moves out of the Tracer, but Forgotten gets rid of Ice. That's a good start here for the Falcons. Graphitic Flux is up, and there's going to be damages on either side. Immortality Field being used by Nev, and actually Fisher College is going to win this fight and put up the fence.
Yeah, as impressive as that was, Fisher College were able to buckle down and win the fight on the ground, short range, thanks a lot to that Gravitic Flux from Avani, getting a ton of value, a ton of damage, and then Cave getting into the back and finishing off those low health targets. So, as impressive as it was, look at that time bank. Only a minute 40 left on the clock, and Maryville are looking a little bit barren when it comes to their ultimates. King, Ice, and Juby are close, but they're not there quite yet, and when they do, Abs is ready with the trans.
Forgotten still has the infra sight as well, doesn't decide to use it just yet, but there it is now as I say it. You're going to have this Tracer v Genji battle on the side, but the problem is one's got an Orb of Harmony, the other one's just going to have to dash away for the health pack before going back to the rest of the team. Dragon Blade now available, Ice using their infra sight. But a minute and 10 seconds left to go. Blade's going to get pulled out. Transcendence to counter that right away, but now with no Transcendence to counter out if Clerky is going to have their Gravitic Flux up, but it doesn't really matter. With only a minute left to go, KB able to get rid of Ice in a 5v4 situation. That's traded out, though. That's huge. King finds 2 in your back line, and that's going to be a push-up and potentially the next point here for Maryville.
A huge Transcendence used there from Juby. While Maryville was already down a player, it takes some guts to be able to say, hey, we're down, but I still think this is winnable. I'm going to use Transcendence, and we are going to press W. That's exactly what Maryville did, running over Fisher College. Now it comes down to these next 3 minutes. Can the Saints get another 86 meters, climb the Circuit Royale mountain in order to go up 2-0 and get themselves to championship point? Or will Fisher be able to hold on the defense? In their defense, they do have another Gravitic Flux from Avani coming up in a moment, which was huge last time, as well as an Amplification Matrix.
Fisher College got that first point, by the way, 2 minutes, 8 seconds faster. But for Maryville, that's not the biggest question. The biggest question is, can you keep climbing up the hill? Nobody's on the point right now, actually, as well. They're going to fight off of it. Gravitic Flux is up, and that Immortality Field means squat. Clerky gets a kill, King with a deflection, and we're in final fight territory, my friend.
Yeah, you got one more fight to do it. But I will say,
the
fact that Avani wasn't able to get up to the Gravitic Flux is a blessing in disguise here, because now Avani has it available for this next fight, and there really isn't anything other than the Immortality Field that's going to be able to counter it on the side of Maryville.
So the golden box of victory right in front of you. Less than 5, or right around 5 meters, I should say,
Avani
left
can't
to
die.
go. And now Avani cannot die. Gravitic Flux is up, Immortality Field up at the same time. There's 2 people inside of there. But Ice and Juby still find kills in your back line. Juby is bloodthirsty on the Zenyatta. It's a team wipe. What a play for Maryville. And the Saints are going to go up in the series 2-0. They are 1 map point away from taking the cup in 23.
All eyes were on Avani to be able to pull off the Gravitic Flux of a lifetime. All eyes were on the front line. And so when the DPS line of Maryville snuck around into the back and just deleted Abs and Neb, no one was expecting it, least of all Fisher College. But they were able to get the finisher that they needed. And now Maryville are 1 map away from claiming the Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup.
Wow, my oh my. I mean, I hate to say deja vu in the meanwhile, but you go back again to that match in the Overwatch Collegiate Cup. It was the exact same scoreline, too.
Yeah.
Mind you, Maryville won 2-0 to start on Control. Then their next map, albeit actually that was on Hybrid, the second map.
Yeah.
But albeit that being the case, it was a 2-1 game. And then their last one ended up being 3-2. So Maryville's actually in a pretty decent spot. But, again, I'm not saying deja vu. I'm just saying it's a coincidence, at least, at the very least, for right now.
I mean, things are going down the same path as they did before, and Fisher has 1 more shot to be able to potentially turn it around and try and reverse history. The question is, what do you do when you're trying to pick this next push map? Because what Fisher has done is we started off on Lijiang Tower, played a bunch of close range comps. It was close, but you lost. Then you move on the Circuit Royale, play long-range comps. That was your choice to try and knock Maryville off their game. You'll lose that too. So it comes down to whether Fisher can find that sort of secret ingredient, that secret composition that they have the one-up on Maryville on. Right now, they have not found it, and this push map choice is going to be massive into showing what they think might be the secret to them, at the very least, getting us to a 4th map.
Yeah, we will see if they can get us to a 4th map. Again, for between these 2 teams, we, again, go back in history. They didn't see the push map because it ended after 3. So this time, push is the 3rd map. You're looking at only 3, Esperanza, New Queen Street, Coliseo. Out of those 3 maps, what do you think you're picking? But as I'm being asked,
I don't have to predict.
Yeah, you don't have to predict. Coliseo's going to be the very next map here. So very brawl heavy, and we know Maryville can bring out the punches.
They can bring out the punches, but if Lijiang was anything to say about it, Fisher can too.
Yeah.
Both Lijiang, you actually wrote it down. What were the actual percentages on the Lijiang Tower map?
So the Lijiang Tower map went 100 to 97 on Control Center. Then you go back to the Gardens, 186. So not to say that it wasn't close on brawl maps at all.
One extra fight goes Fisher's way on either of those maps, and they win.
Yeah.
So Fisher, I think, feels very confident in their ability, at least when it comes down to push instead of a Control. Because, listen, we all love Control. We all love King of the Hill.
Yep.
those maps end up becoming much more scrappy than any other map type in the game, just because of the nature of the composition of the maps where everyone's kind of fighting over one point. When you're going on to push maps, though, you're able to sort of pick and choose where you take your engagements to try and make them as advantageous for you as possible. So I think that, Fisher, when you have that extra little bit of time to breathe, to plan out your fights before you go in, you're feeling pretty confident about your ability to, at the very least, win more than half the fights.
Now, again, we will see if Fisher has or is going to put in a sub, because Avani, right? Avani came in for the last map of Circuit Royale, but that was due to the fact that there is a Sigma. It looks like we're going to go in, and Avani's actually going to stay in for Fisher. So right now, maybe throwing Maryville a little bit of a curveball, because you may or may not have expected Avani to come out. Considering the meta right now, right? Mermacha kind of ball or Reinhardt kind of brawl as well, which we saw Faded go in for, but right now in Colosseo, Avani stays in. I mean, what do you expect here?
I think it's going to be probably a lot of the same that we've been talking about so far. The reason Avani is in is because over the course of the school year, Avani has gotten the lion's share of the starts for Fisher College. He's done a fantastic job on both the off-tank and also the main tank roles when he has been asked to do so. Faded is kind of the Reinhardt specialist for this team, but Avani has shown the ability to play a lot of stuff, and in this situation when you are down 0-2 with one map to win or go home in the Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup, I think it is a great strategy to just go with the composition that you have played the most and you feel like you have the highest synergy with.
Maryville coming up on 3 match point opportunities. Fisher College has to play perfect the rest of the way.
This is an interesting composition.
This is an interesting. I don't think I've seen this since Junker Queen actually got released.
Yeah.
This was such a rush comp.
It's time for some Jotes, baby.
Yeah, it is.
Let's hear it for Jotes.
Yeah, Jotes is back online, and Fisher College is going to bring out something, again, like I said, we haven't seen in quite a long time, especially ever since Mermacha came out. Since, you know, I mean, Life Weaver came out as well, but with Mermacha coming out, you really haven't seen Jotes in a while, and especially Kiriko canceling out the Junker Queen, you know, the Rampage there. I mean, still.
Yeah.
Fisher College is going to bring it out to see, and they're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at Maryville right now. They're just throwing every curveball imaginable. And you want to know a stat as well. About 80% of fights that go for the first team win is actually able to win out the fight. Avani, with the slash away on the axe, is able to get rid of Juby, and King goes down as well. And the first fight is actually won by the Falcons.
Yeah, such an aggressive comp this Jotes comp is, and they do a very good job of just taking advantage of teeny little mistakes. Usually a Lucio being caught out of position isn't that big of a deal because he's able to use the wall rise and maneuverability to get back to safety. But in a composition that is as fast as Fisher College is, they're able to section off and take out that Lucio before he can escape. So now we have the first bot push in favor of Fisher College.
2 fight losses here from Maryville will be devastating unless they can make the climb back. But right now they back off for a little while here just to regroup to make sure that they've got the rest of the team. Slash away goes Avani for right now, and you're going to have the nano boost on DeClerky, who does not have the Annihilation, mind you, but it could very well be enough to win you this fight. Shree's bloodthirsty as well, finds 2, and it's going to be Maryville taking the bot in their favor.
Yeah, just about doing it. Even though you don't have that ultimate ready, I mean, when you have the pummels up and when you have so much healing at your back, it may as well be a nano boosted ultimate there for the side of False. And now you have that Annihilation available to potentially get you another fight win and take the lead if you're able to win this one. On the other side, though, you have the Rampage already available. You're going to be able to anti-nade, do the effect of the anti-nade to as many people as you can to maybe clean up with Forgotten Spot.
It's going to be the Rampage out and about from Avani, which hits at least Tree. And Tree is bleeding
2
out.
health.
But Ice storm arrowing away onto Neb. Very low health, and King is so low, but King stays up. I don't know how. Good support line there for Maryville to keep them up. Dynamite does you no good. They're going to throw out the 6th man here, but Ice just finding heads to roll away, and Maryville is going to take the lead.
Wow, the fact that King stays alive there is actually so huge, because you have to continue worrying if you're Fisher College about that Genji in your backline poking away with the shurikens, and because of that you're not able to fully commit to the frontline fight. And the Ravenous Vortex kill on the Forgotten, that is a rare Overwatch screenshot right there. That stagger is absolutely massive. Not only is Maryville going to be able to take the lead, they're going to take a commanding lead of 20 meters or more before Fisher College can re-engage.
But remember, they still have to hit the checkpoint as well, and nobody's on the robot pushing right now, so that very kind of small hope for Fisher College, maybe to get back in time may very well help. Neb's going to have to use
We
the
got
sound barrier.
Boostio.
You've got the Dragon Blade out as well. Lucio, it's Boostio. You're right. Juby is boosted by the Nano Boost. It's going to do absolutely nothing but win Maryville the fight here thanks to Iced and King finding kills. King's going to find a double, and Maryville's going to find the checkpoint.
Despite what has to have been a bit of a mistake there by Tree getting the Nano Boost onto Lucio, they still managed to win the fight. They managed to get the forward spawns, and another fight win here could be an insurmountable lead for Fisher College to be able to get back from. We do still have 6 minutes left on the clock. We have plenty of time to work with, but Avani is immediately in trouble.
Avani in a lot of trouble. It's going to be the Cuticle Kitsune Rush going to come out from Fisher College into the side room. Good cutaway from Maryville to make sure they avoid that at all possible costs. However, before that, the Dynamite takes down King. King burns away, and it's a 5v4 situation. Robot being held up right now thanks to just the overpass that Clerky sits at right now. The Rampage is going to be used. That's both of the supports in, but there's no follow-up. Juby and Tree are still alive, so Juby and Tree staying alive is huge for them. They get
Tree
picks,
so
though.
low.
Tree goes down, Juby finally goes down, and the Falcons finding a fight win.
That is absolutely crucial because you still have a 40-meter advantage for Maryville. It is not an insurmountable lead for Fisher College with still about 5 minutes left on the clock. Not only do you have a doable lead to come back from, you also have a Bob coming up momentarily as well as the beat from Neb. So you're looking okay on ultimates. On the other side, though, Annihilation from False yet again. This has been massive, especially if you can start that before Neb gets that last 15% towards the beat. That could be brutal.
5 minutes left to go. Half of the time bank wasted away.
Oh,
Maryville with the lead, and now there's the Annihilation coming up. Clerky gets the reset of the armor as well, but Clerky falls oh so low. They could trade this out. Avani is bionated, but it's a 2v1 trade still. Avani stays up, and it's actually going to be Fisher College wasting away Nano, wasting away a Annihilation, and that's huge.
The Nano actually ended up going on to King and not False, so you're in this situation where you're trying to build up that last little bit towards the blade. Now you're forced to use a dry blade here from King, and is kind of stranded in no man's land, is going to find a little bit of something, trying to find a support to get anything on, but
Neb actually used the sound barrier in the meantime, so Neb actually dropped the sound barrier when that blade came out, so this Blizzard is going to come out from Cabe, and it's gonna, I mean, Cabe uses the Blizzard, but it's gonna come up for nothing, and Fisher College flips it back, although now the lead only down to about 28 meters.
Yeah, I mean, you are looking at now 4 minutes left on the clock, and while you did get a little bit of meterage, you close things up a little bit, you're going to have to meet a couple of fights in a row in order to be able to get this final win, and the time frame to do that is closing quickly. Abs coming up on the Kitsune Rush, and King going down is huge for the side of Fisher College. They might be able to win this fight without any ults.
They might be able to. 3 kills fall. Clerky's in Nemesis form as well. Could turn this entire fight around, but will not be able to do so. But I mean, discipline at the very least. Maryville holds on to their sound barrier, which is great. But now Fisher College coming up on a Kitsune Rush as well, so it's 1 support ult versus 1 support ult coming up.
1 support ult for sure, but the fact is, Fisher College, their entire composition revolves around just absolute aggression. And Abs is no longer around.
Yep, there goes the Kid. No Kitsune Rush either.
I didn't even have to say his name, and I cast a cursed him.
Oh my god.
What the heck?
You didn't have to say anything. You just said one sentence and he's dead. I mean, come on, man. You've already got Avani, I'm forgotten, having a backup down solo health. The key to go back inside. But they're down to already half health. Forgotten and Avani just needing to already back up, but Ice still hitting shots. 2 minutes and 50 seconds on the clock. They're going to use the Kitsune Rush here to see if they have a chance at this fight. And if this goes poorly, this might have been a bad call-out here because you still could have fought. And yes, Clerky does get the kill onto Forgotten. And so that Kitsune Rush going off for nothing.
That is actually a tough one, especially because Abs died so early in that fight. It flipped. Again, that's why we see the Hanzo. You'll flip the fight on its head immediately with 1 headshot onto a key player. And now Fisher College are forced on the back foot. The lead is extending once again, and the time is bleeding away. Every tick like lead in the veins of Fisher College as they try desperately to get back into this.
Neb still stays in this, though. You've got the headshot onto him, and Neb has to pay dearly with his life. As now you've got the pulse bomb. Kane misses wide. 50 meters is now the lead. The annihilation comes out from Clorky to just make sure that this fight is all but secured.
Wow.
And Maryville, with 2 minutes left to go, looking to complete the map.
And the entire time that fight was happening, the bot was moving. Maryville has crossed the 3-digit threshold, which generally, in most cases, will be able to get you the win. We have a 70-plus meter difference between the two with 100 seconds left on the clock. There is no room for error, and you cannot lose Neb in this situation.
You cannot lose Neb. This could very well be it. Clorky finds the kill as well. Maryville marches on into the final couple of meters. 4 meters left to go. There is the pulse bomb. Immortality Field keeps them up. Summer is going to come out. Cade takes down Clorky, but in the meanwhile, there's the Baptiste gone. A minute 15 on the clock now. They're still fighting for their lives. King's able to escape for right now, but it's going to be just the chase down of the Tracer. They are able to find picks left and right here, but for right now, with not a lot of team members left, it's going to be headshot still for Ice. But for right now, Maryville's got to back up. It's a long way back still.
At this point, all you have to do is just drain time off the clock. There's 1 minute left, and with this trade fight, Fisher will probably be able to win because they have the spawn advantage. But then what? You have 80 meters to make up here and 45 seconds plus overtime to do it. You have absolutely zero room for error if you're Fisher College. If you want to keep your dreams of winning the CECC alive, you do have the pulse bomb. You're coming up on the Amp Matrix. You're coming up on the Annihilation, so you do have some tools, but you have to be 100% perfect here. One lost fight at this point means Maryville is going to be holding the trophy in just a few minutes.
Fisher College needing to play perfect for the next 20 seconds plus. And I mean plus in a big, big way. Fisher College coming up on 3 ultimates. Coming up on the 4th. Pulse bomb a little wide. They're still going to get iced out in the end. There goes the Dragon Strike away. Or there goes the Nano Boost onto Clorky at the same time. Clorky gets rid of the Immortality Field, but isn't going to get much more. Other than that, Nano Boost runs out. And now you're going to have overtime clock running. Ravenous Vortex keeps Neb there for a couple of moments. And now the Annihilation out. Clorky able to find the Baptiste. Might find a little bit more. The Samir comes out.
There's the beat.
Yeah, there's the beat from Juby. There's the clear out. There's 2 kills. King and Tree are there. And the overtime clock starts to bleed out. And right now, as it stands, nobody else is going to be able to touch the point. And the historic program keeps making history. Maryville is going to lift the cup in 2023 at CECC, Texas.
What a game from Maryville University. This team has been counted out throughout the entire lead up to this event after coming in 3rd place in the Overwatch Collegiate Championship. They thought there's no way that these guys are going to be able to come back in a bracket with ISU, with Boise, with Fisher, and be able to come out with the victory. Well, these guys have been hungry to prove themselves as the #1 team for a long, long time, and finally they have their claim, they have their trophy, they have their championship.
They have the championship, the trophy in hand. Maryville keeps the history going for such a historic program in the Overwatch community. Maryville sweeping away with the broom to Fisher College. And Maryville will get to hold up the CECC trophy. There will be no back-to-backs for the Redbirds. That went down in the quarterfinals. Maryville will lift up the trophy here in Esports Stadium, Arlington. And right now, I mean, Maryville's got to feel pretty good that it will not be a double-up for both Northwood and Fisher.
And you know what? I got to say, this is the first time I've ever seen Maryville run this particular group of 5 with Ice on DPS and Tree on support. That might be one of their strongest 5s that they have come up with throughout this entire semester. They've been playing around with the people that they have in their roster, trying to find that roster that can give them that secret sauce, that can give them the synergy that they need to be the #1 team in the country. And while it was a little bit late to do it in the Collegiate Cup, the Collegiate Championship, late is better than never. And Maryville, I think, found that perfect combination of 5 players just in time to take this championship home.
My, oh my, what a significant win. Again, Maryville coming up huge, 3-0. We thought this was going to be an exciting series. It was, despite the scoreline being 3-0. It was such a good championship in the end. And what a way to close out here at Esports Stadium Arlington as well. I mean, even if it was a 3-0, I mean, we saw 4-1, we saw 2-0 as well. But even if all those scorelines were there, this was exciting for what was a 3-0.
It was incredibly exciting because Fisher are also, I don't want to discount this team, they are on that stage for a reason. This is an incredibly established organization. They were in the finals for 3 of the 4 games today for a reason. These guys were looking for the three-peat, could only take 1 trophy home today, but for sure, this squad is going to be here again. They are going to be up on the stage again. They are going to have many more trophies to fill. They're already crowded trophy collection here, but this time around, not quite there. These guys are going to stay in second place, stay hungry for next year. Maryville University taking it home.
So we will see Maryville approach with the trophy in a couple of moments here as we get set for the trophy ceremony. Fisher, unfortunately, not going to be able to lift it up this year.
Yeah.
But, I mean, like you were saying, 3 out of 4 teams inside of the finals here at CECC. And, I mean, what a way to handle it overall, to go on in. And for Maryville to go on in and kind of break the streak that is Fisher. Only 1 out of the 3 Fisher teams winning, but Maryville able to break it away.
Maryville gets the victory, and now we are ready for the trophy presentation. Over to you on the stage.
Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, here to crown your champions, please welcome to the stage to present the Commissioner's Cup, Chief Esports Officer of CSMG, Angela Bernard Thomas.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of Collegiate Sports Management Group and EsportsU, we want to congratulate Maryville on an incredible season, and we want to present you with this award as the champions of the 2023 Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup Overwatch champions.
Well done. Congratulations. All right, just taking this interview for post-game here. Well done. Let's make some noise one time. We have the 2023 CECC Overwatch 2 champions. Let's go. All right, well done. Woo! I love that. Let's go. Well done. All right, Maryville, you came, you saw, you conquered, #1 all the way to the end. How does it feel to be the 2023 Overwatch champs?
We always knew we could do it. We knew we were better than everyone coming here, so it's nice to actually be able to actualize that for the first time probably this semester. So, yeah, it's good to end on a win after a fucking long, hard year. I don't know if I'm
Long, hard years, no question about it. Tell everyone real quick, what was your experience like overall at the CECC this weekend?
It was really fun, honestly. I've never been to an event like this high quality with this level of stage, so it was really like an honor to play on this stage. It was really awesome, so thank you guys.
Well, congratulations once again. Next up, we'll have Space Ghost here to introduce our MVP.
Hey, folks, are you ready? We have our CECC 2023 Overwatch Champion MVP. Are you ready? Do you guys want to guess? I'm just kidding. It's Juby.
Let's go.
Let's go, Juby. The energy on here is electric. Tell me, are these your boys?
Of course. I'm very surprised I got this, to be honest.
Are you surprised? You're taking it back?
I'm not taking it back, but I'm very surprised.
No worries. How did it feel to clutch the game out? I mean, you were the MVP. What is that experience like on stage for you?
Well, being the MVP, it was pretty easy, to be honest.
Just existing, you know? What's the key to your guys' success? Is it friendship? Is it hard work? Is it a combination of all these things? Perhaps your program?
It's one word, and it's tree.
Right. Tree, the secret ingredient that keeps the whole thing together. Anybody you want to thank? Any shout-outs you want to give?
I guess I'd like to thank all of our staff at Maryville, Shipley, Dan, Andrew, all my teammates. This year is pretty fun, so shout out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Big Maryville fan, you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And, you know, we'll hopefully see you next year holding that trophy as well. Hope you guys have a lovely night. And that will be the conclusion for the moment. We will be back with some closing ceremonies, throw right to a break, and we will be right back, folks. Oh, we're going right to the desk, and we will be right back.
It's just a casual desk break. Don't worry, it's still a break. Wow, Juby, he do be that guy, MVP, well deserved. But before we get into that player specifically, we got to talk about the game as a whole. A beautiful victory for Maryville, and a bit of a shakeup after the first map of Lijiang Tower, taken out Faded, replaced with Avani. Miles, what do you think the implications of that were for the rest of the series?
Well, Fisher had to try something. 3-0 a few weeks ago, 3-0 today. They knew it was going to be an uphill battle, so they tried to put in Faded, but then they went back to Avani just a little bit later in the second 2 maps, and that's a little bit iffy because it gives your entire team whiplash. Even playing the exact same comps, the exact same heroes, there's still going to be whiplash between every single one of them. These 2 tank players do not play the same, and that was evident between Lijiang and the other 2 maps. And I don't know what difference it would have made if Avani was in the entire time or if Faded was in the entire time. But I think it would have helped build cohesion. It wouldn't have dragged them around, and maybe some momentum would have been sparked.
That could be the case. I mean, shaking up the team might be a bit of an issue. You want that consistent flow, and I'll talk about someone who was in a flow state the whole time. My God, the boy King. All dang game, all dang series was going crazy against their counterpart of Cave, Artie.
Yeah, okay, so I mentioned it earlier that if we see King on Genji, it might be getting a little silly. And I say that not because I'm throwing shade at the Genji play. I mean, King is a strong Genji, but when King is up against a wall and the Tracer play comes out, there are very few Tracers that you look at and go, I never want to take you in a one-on-one. I never want to take you in a 2-on-1. I don't even want to see you in my ladder game ever. And that is why King on Tracer terrifies most players that end up going against it. The Genji was huge. We saw some great, even dry blades, but really it was a utility piece. It wasn't a playmaker piece. But King, I definitely got very happy near the end of Coliseo to finally see the Tracer swap over. Also, there was a Tracer swap on as well as on Circuit Royale. Absolutely superb, but providing more utility than anything else. Definitely how a team should play, not just to be the one and only playmaker. We see the dueling dragons. There was dueling males on this point as well. But at the end of the day, I gotta give my props over to Juby, the one that we elected as MVP. Definitely supports. Kat pointed it out here on desk. They were doing a lot of damage, getting a lot of eliminations, but what really solidified the choice for Juby in these situations was near the very end. There was just support utility that was provided. The ult utilization was just so much stronger. However, map 1, the differential. Cade versus King. King definitely wears that crown of the DPS ruler.
Without a doubt, you know, specifically the deflection on Circuit Royale.
Oh my God.
Into a headshot on an opponent. I jumped out of my chair. I didn't think it was really possible, but you know what, Maryville, they're making us believers. And Maryville, they're a team that really focuses in on games that they want to compete in. Well, Fisher competing in 4 different games here at the CECC finals. Now, Kat, you got a little bit of insight into Maryville as a program. Do you think it's better to focus in?
I think it really depends on what your goals are, right? Like, Fisher also is a younger program. They haven't been around as long, and they have a little bit extra money to invest into multiple esports. So I think as you try to find an initial foundation, the more spread you are, right? The more things you throw at the wall, the more things that are going to stick, right? Where I think that for Maryville, a squad that does have 2 primary esports right now, I think they've looked so incredibly good because they've really defined that early. They got to a point where they have coaching, training staff brought for just those 2 rosters, so they're able to be so successful. Like, you play Maryville, right? You're not playing a collegiate team. You're playing a tier 2 organization almost every time. Their League of Legends team just got promoted to the North American Challengers League. They are a tier 2 team.
Incredible stuff, and I would always say that looking at Maryville throughout the collegiate ecosystem, you know, they're just a cut above. They certainly have proven it one more time here at the Collegiate Esports Commissioners Cup, taking the grand champions. And one more look back at Juby.
Can I make
Go,
a comment?
go right ahead.
Okay, so supports, we've been trying to honor the supports in the Overwatch games throughout the course of this because, as Septilence pointed out, you're not going to be alive without your support who's giving you those heals. And originally when the game ended, we did kind of foreshadow Juby being MVP because we had the camera on him. And I'm looking at it, and all of us kind of start giggling. Juby looks completely gassed, gave everything into this game. But on top of that, man is disassociating, just kind of staring off into space. And I'm like, it's time to stop fighting the demons that are behind your computer screen because you're about to have to go make a speech. Still manages to do it, but Juby, hopefully your squad can continue to be successful going on in the future. You popped off. Keep doing what you're doing. Nicely done.
There's that Maryville squad. All signing the placard, about to put it up on the bracket, solidifying themselves, cementing themselves here in collegiate esports history as the 2023 Overwatch champions. Beautiful stuff. Congratulations to them, and thank you for coming for Fisher. Again, 3 different titles where they were able to make it to the finals. That is a phenomenal showing, and one where they actually took it for themselves. You got to give props, but of course, it ain't their day anymore. It's Maryville's, and I think we all have to take a look back and say this was a spicy buffalo. This was a spicy buffalo for me because you know what? It actually didn't hurt as much as I thought it would.
So it's spicy for that reason?
No, it's because just like spicy buffalo, it doesn't actually hurt.
Oh, okay, yeah, I got it.
Cat.
I was gonna say I think it's a spicy buffalo because I actually hate spicy things.
Oh, okay.
So I would never eat it, similar to how Fisher did not eat a map.
Okay. Oh. All right, I like that. You seem taken fully aback, Artie.
There's just so much sass. Sweet and sour for me again. As far as the Fisher players go, I'm a huge fan of Faded. And I mentioned at the beginning, I'm probably not going to see some Reinhardt play, and I was calling over towards our production and our replay organizer, like, hey, I really want to see a big shatter. I have not seen a successful shatter this entire tournament. If Faded gets this shatter, please clip it. Please get it in our highlights. And, of course, our TO goes, and you were saying? Because it's just Reinhardt's very difficult to play currently how he is. He got nerfed into the ground. He got the Genji treatment. I'm sorry, everyone that likes to run Rein into the back lines. It's just not how it is, and that's still going to make this a little bit of sweet and a little bit of sour because I predicted Maryville, but I wanted that Rein shatter.
And you know what? I'm going to throw Fisher a bone and say I predicted completely overpowering with the honey. And that really wasn't the case. As Dividing was noted, even though that was a decisive win, there were many instances where if one more fight went Fisher's way, that map was theirs. The issue is it wasn't. When the going got rough, when all the cards were really on the table, it was in fact Maryville who finished it off. Not in an overpowering way, so I'm retracting the honey, but they got it done. They made it happen, and they gave us one heck of a show.
The honey retracted, the bees saved, and our job here on the analyst desk done. That is going to do it here. Take a look one more time at the bracket, or don't. We're going to head out in just a few moments. My name is Los, joined by Catinator, Artie, and Miles. Thank you for joining us. We're going to come back to the Collegiate Esports Commissioner Cup presented by McDonald's of North Texas with the awards ceremony, closing ceremony, right after this.